So it's Bill Manning, and I am the president of Toronto FC and the Toronto Argonauts.
So can you kind of walk us through and give us a little bit more detail about your playing career?
When I was about 13, I made the Long Island select team, and then we started to travel a bit. I went to a very good soccer school and wound up being one of the top-ranked teams in the state. And I started to get recruited a bit by colleges, but I had a full scholarship to a small school in Connecticut called the University of Bridgeport, which was a Division II school, and became an All-American in college. And challenge was coming out of soccer. So there really was not a future, but I still wanted to play. I enjoyed the game a lot. Eventually, there was a team that was starting up in New York called the New York Fever. They offered me a contract to play for $2,000 a month. I asked if they could give me another $1,000 a month, and he actually said, will you work in the front office? And that actually really is what started my kind of business career. And I used to come in during the day with a tie on, and I would sell group tickets and some small sponsorships and help with the operations of the team. And then I'd leave at 3 o'clock every day, go to the locker room. We'd train at 4 o'clock.
So when did you decide that your playing career was coming to an end, and when you went on to that sport admin side?
Started to realize I wasn't going to get in as a player, and then I wanted to get in as an administrator. And I was planning on playing the 1996 season with the New York Fever, but the two owners of a team called the Long Island Rough Riders came to me and they said, we'd like to know if you'd like to come in and be our general manager. And so the decision was kind of made for me. I look back and say that was my first chance to really run a team.
So can you go into the steps once you became that GM to where you are today?
General manager for Long Island Rough Riders. We played in what's called the United Soccer Leagues now. I started negotiating contracts with players. And then I got a call by a guy who was running a team in Minnesota. Would you consider coming out and taking my place with it was called the Minnesota Thunder at that point. It's now the Minnesota United in MLS, and run our franchise. And I wound up going to Minnesota, and then my second year there, we won. And I had set a goal for myself that I wanted to be a GM in MLS by the age of 35. Current commissioner of MLS, Don Garber, got assigned to be commissioner of MLS back then. So I reached out to my friends. I said, do you know Don Garber by any chance? He says, I'm having lunch with him next week. And I said, would you tell him about me? I wound up speaking to him about running their Tampa franchise. The relationships that I built back then helped me to this day. So that was my first chance in MLS. I was the president and GM. MLS was at a very difficult point, though, at that time, and they wound up folding the two Florida franchises, one of which was mine. But then I also received a phone call to go interview for a position at the Houston Rockets. And I didn't get the job, and I had told their CEO at the time, I thanked him, and I just said, if there's anything else in the organization, please think about me. And sure enough, he told the new guy who reached out to me. I had to swallow my pride, take what was a big step down in responsibility, but a big step up in terms of league. It was now the NBA. Well, I was director of corporate development, and then a headhunter who had originally put me up for the Houston job came to me and said, the Philadelphia Eagles are looking for a vice president of sales. So I got on a plane the next day. I met on Wednesday with the then president of the Eagles and the senior vice president, who was my boss. He said, they're going to offer you the job. Are you going to take it? And I said, what are they offering? And she said, it doesn't matter. Are you going to take it? I said, yeah. The biggest thing for me with the Rockets and the Eagles, I had to raise my level and raise my game because I was competing with and working with some of the best executives in sports. And I got a call from another headhunter that Real Salt Lake needed a president. I missed soccer. And I missed being on the team side. I was purely on the business side in the NBA and the NFL. I wound up leaving the Eagles. We wound up winning an MLS Cup. We turned around a team that was losing, $10 million a year to be a profitable team. Toronto MLSE, and Larry Tannenbaum was the franchise I wound up really honing in on. And when we arrived, they had jerseys for my whole family in the sizes of my kids, right? So just, I could tell that these little touches were really special. And, we've done really well with Toronto. We've transitioned the team over the last year and a half, and we were able to go to MLS Cup again last year. Throughout my career, the one thing which has been great for me has been my network of contacts that I've made over all these years and all these different cities that I've lived in helped me to this day. And I've hired a lot of ex-athletes, and what I think sports does for us is you learn to compete. The goal is to beat someone else. It's to actually come out with more goals and more baskets. In both business and in sports, in my world, you get judged on how well your team does, and you have to do it better than someone else.
Is there any other advice that you would give to anyone whose goal is to work in the sports industry on the business side?
If they have an opportunity to do an internship, even if it's unpaid or very little money, do it. Not even as much the experience you're going to get, it's actually who you're going to meet. In the beginning, if you want to work in sports, it can't be about the money. But if you can be successful in sports, the money will come, and a lot of money in some cases. It's something they have to seek out. Jobs aren't going to come to you, and you're going to get no a lot. But when you do get yes, even if it's not the ideal job you wanted, and if you're willing to, take it, because that job can lead to other jobs.